Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio is in, describing the moments behind how he made the final decision.
I can go back just a few weeks where my daughter called me crying from school because her friend was crying to her. Her dad just got transferred at the local General Motors plant. The kids had to move.
Yeah.
And my daughter called me and she said, "You got to do something." And I said, "I'm going to do something, and I'm going to run for president of the United States."
Oh. Okay, that's a strange way to help a friend. I feel like I'm going to start using that. Next time a friend asks me to pick them up from the airport, I'm going to be like, you know what, I'll help you, Dave, by running for president.
Joining us now is the man who made that promise to his daughter, Democratic Congressman Tim Ryan of Ohio. Yesterday, he announced his bid for the presidential nomination. Congressman, good to see you. Welcome to the race.
Good to see you. Thank you so much.
So we'll ask you right out of the gate the question we've asked a number of people who've sat at this table in the last few weeks. Why do you want to be president?
Yeah, the country's divided, and I believe I can heal it. I get a lot of voters who President Trump got. I think we could bring those voters back into the fold. I can win Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Wisconsin, rebuild that blue wall, and really reset the economy in the United States. We can't do that divided. We've got to rebuild these communities, whether it's industrial America or rural America. A lot of people are hurting. We need an industrial policy in the United States. We're losing to China on electric vehicles, on solar, on the future, 5G. We need to put a plan together, and I can do that.
So take us inside Youngstown, Ohio, or Akron, Ohio, inside your district, one of these places where, as you know, painfully, the plants are leaving, jobs are leaving. What are the concerns you hear about from people that maybe we're not hearing about from coastal Democrats, or we're not hearing about on television shows?
Well, the first problem is it goes back 40 years. I mean, I could go back to my father-in-law losing his job in the late 1970s at Youngstown Sheet and Tube for 13 months after he just bought a house. And I can go back 20 years. I can go back, as I said in the interview, a couple weeks. And the reality of it is it's about wages. It's about health care. It's about pensions. It's about having a government working with the private sector, working for the future to create dignified jobs for people. People just want to get up. They want to go to work. They want to work hard. They want to play by the rules. They don't want a big mansion on the coasts. They want maybe a fishing boat. You know, they want to maybe send their kids to college, but they don't want to stare at the ceiling every night wondering how they're going to pay the bills. And that is the vast majority of Americans today. Stock market's as high as it's ever been.
Yep.
Unemployment's as low as it's ever been, yet 40 to 50% of Americans cannot survive a $400 or $500 emergency.
So the answer from a lot of your fellow Democratic candidates to the problem you're talking about has been more government, Medicare for all, federal job guarantees in some cases.
Right.
What do you make of those arguments?
Well, they bring up, I think, the value proposition that everyone needs health care and we need to work for jobs. I don't go quite that far on some of those issues. The reality of it is you need a plan. You need a plan moving forward, and you need the free market. We can't be divided, so we can't say, well, the government's going to do everything. I don't think in today's society, given today's government, that a centralized bureaucratic answer to how do we get to electric vehicles and make 30 million of them is the answer. It's going to be a blend of public-private partnerships. I represented Youngstown and Akron for a long time, almost 17 years. Every good deal we made happen was a public-private partnership between someone taking the risk, someone getting the loan out, and them staring at the ceiling wondering if they're going to be able to pay the note back, the government playing its role, the education system playing its role, local, state, federal, port authorities. I mean, it takes a team, and we got to be united if we're going to pull this thing off.
This is a huge field, as you know. You got a lot of really famous senators running who have instant name recognition.
Yeah.
So a question we've also been asking is, how do you get yourself out? How do you rise? How do you get your ideas and your voice front and center? And part of the answer to me is Pete Buttigieg, who's a mayor of a city of 100,000 people, and he goes out and he performs every time out. If you do that every night, if you go on TV every time and you impress people, it pays off, and it's paying off for him right now.
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you break through?
Same thing. I mean, you work your rear end off. I mean, nothing's handed to you. You got to go out and get it. And I'm a grinder. I mean, I'll get up early with you guys, and I'll be up late. I mean, we're going to work our rear ends off. We're going to go everywhere. I think that's important too. It can't just be Mississippi, Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, and Nevada and South Carolina. I'm going to go everywhere. I can go everywhere, and we're going to try to pull this country back together. But there's no easy way to do it. People think, you know, you show up and do a few TV appearances, it's going to happen.
Besides incredible work ethic, look at that graphic. It barely could fit the faces on the screen. What is the idea that sets you apart from everyone else in the field? Why should a prospective Democratic voter say, "Oh, this guy," as opposed to the 40 other people?
I think I understand as well, if not better than anybody, about the old economy, where we were, kind of the Trump. I want to go back to the old economy, old school economy, and how we get to the new school economy. I mean, how do we get to electric vehicles? How do we get to wind? How do we get to solar? How do we help people in rural America? And I just think that having those big ideas and being able to pull everybody together, that's what's going to happen.
What did Trump not do for GM to keep GM in Lordstown? He's browbeated the company. He's called up the CEO. He's made automotive plants moving overseas a huge priority. What is he not doing that you would do?
Look, it's not about necessarily one company. Look, the market's going to move. Things are going to shift. The car companies are going to decide to make this car and not that car. That happens in the economy. It's dynamic. And I don't blame the president for every problem that we have. I blame the president for not caring enough to really try to solve the problem. He cares about Barbara Bush and hammering and insulting people and shaming people more than he does saying, okay, I'm going to sit down with the American car industry. I'm going to sit down with the Department of Energy. I'm going to sit down with the National Science Foundation. I'm going to sit down with the Department of Defense. We are going to figure out how we're going to dominate the electric vehicle market. We're going to go from 2 million electric vehicles to 30 million electric vehicles. I want those made in the United States. I want the batteries made in the United States. I want the charging stations made in the United States, and us to export this to the world. So he's not focused on a long-term strategy. Yeah, I'm going to put tariffs on China. I know people in the Midwest are insecure about China. They do dump steel in Youngstown. I'm for that too. That's not going to win the day. That's not going to allow us to beat China, out-compete China. He has no plan for that. I do, and I think the American people, especially in these areas that have been left behind, I think that's going to resonate with them, and I think, you know, we're going to make that argument and see if it sticks.
And a lot of those ideas will resonate in swing states, especially. And I appreciate and I hope I don't hurt your chances by saying this as a Republican, but I appreciate your willingness to be open-minded, recognizing you have to work with the other side. But you are running in a crowded primary. You had an A rating from the NRA. You've also evolved on your position on abortion. How do you, in such a progressive field, even though you've modified your positions, how do you say that you're, you know, true blue on those issues?
Well, I think Democrats, especially Democratic primary voters, understand and appreciate the fact that as you have experiences in your life, your viewpoint changes. I think Democrats, progressive Democrats, appreciate that more than anybody. I mean, you could be Donald Trump and never change your position on anything ever, regardless of how the facts on the ground changes. And when I watch school shootings, you're damn right I'm going to change my position on how I feel about background checks and gun control and those kind of things, because I watched kids run out of a school building where they were getting shot. And my wife is a teacher. We have kids in school. That becomes a very personal issue. I started meeting women who were in very complicated situations that I didn't understand before I met them. And then I met them and I said, wow, I just don't think that the federal government should be in the middle of this doctor's office between the patient and the doctor. That really should be a personal decision that a woman should make. So if you want someone who hears evidence, has personal experience, comes with an open heart and an open mind, and then changes their position, I hope you want that person to be president of the United States, because I think that's how we help heal a lot of what's going on in the country.
I just appreciate a straight answer on it, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Congressman, we got a bunch more questions for you. If you can sit tight for a minute.
Sure.
A quick break. We'll be right back with Congressman Tim Ryan, the latest to join the 2020 Democratic presidential field.
Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.